Tonight's show is sponsored by the Vlogging Kit for iPhone and Android, featuring a 63 inches auto face tracking tripod, wireless microphones, dual LED lights, and a scrolling remote for TikTok, the ultimate content creator kit for YouTube, live streams, and beyond.
Welcome to world premiere Word on the Streets. Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on a silent epidemic, the relentless chase to be enough. From burnout to broken identity, we're unpacking how society's obsession with hustle and perfection is leaving us drained and disconnected. But there's a way out. Join us as we explore how to shift from striving to simply being and reclaim the worth that was never meant to be earned. Let's talk healing and the power of redefining success from the inside out. Greetings, and welcome to the world premiere Word on the Streets. We're live every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't miss out. After a week full of noise, confusion, and constant distractions, this is the show that cuts through the clutter. It's the hour of the week where real talk meets real truth. We bring conversations that challenge the status quo and stir something deeper in the soul. This isn't just commentary, it's clarity, purpose, and elevation. When you tune in, you're not just watching, you're waking up. A place where common sense still matters and lives. So ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake, this is the world premiere Word on the Streets. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. And now, ladies and gentlemen, join hearts and hands together for the man who discovered his purpose and lives it loud, Larry Extraordinaire Moten, and the motivator born to ignite minds and shift atmospheres, the amazing Keith Fletcher, and the man who brings clarity to the chaos with the voice of reason you can't ignore, the one and only Mr. Vincent Craig. Make no mistake, there is no word without our host. Welcome to the movement, welcome to the message, welcome to the world premiere, Word on the Street.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Welcome to the show. Thank all of you all for tuning in once again to the world premiere, Word on the Streets. That's our love right back at y'all. Friends, we're so excited to be back on with you all. You know, Vincent and Fletcher and I, we look forward in coming and being with you all every Thursday at 7:30 Central Standard Time. And friends, without further ado, I know the main reason why you all here. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, the motivator himself, the amazing Mr. Keith Fletcher.
What up? How y'all doing out there? How you doing? Man, what's up, man?
And the one and only, ladies and gentlemen, the man with the silk smooth voice who bring reason and understanding to every discussion. You know, when this man show up, make no mistake, friends, he's 100% prepared and ready. Ladies and gentlemen, show some love for Mr. Vincent Craig.
Everybody.
And friends, I am extraordinaire. Hopefully you all know me. I'm happy to be alone with these two fantastic, wonderful men. And the three of us, we make the world premiere Word on the Streets. Good evening, my brothers. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
What's going on, brothers?
Evening.
How y'all doing?
So good to see y'all face in this place.
Likewise. Glad to be
You know,
here.
friends, you know, brothers, we really been building on some serious conversation here on this platform. And I am so proud on the three of us taking on such challenging subject and not shying away from them. In a world of temptation to be tempted to join the uh, the uh, the mass of commercialism, the low hanging fruits, the thing for clickbait. The three of us have ignored those rather than we have selected to choose topics that really have some meat on it that will last for transforming real lives. And I am so proud that we have taken on this challenge each and every week. And such is the case this Thursday. Last Thursday we talked about unspoken wounds, and the Thursday before that we talked about procrastination. And tonight, friends, tonight, if y'all tuning in and this is your first time, go ahead on and subscribe to us right now. We promise you, you will not be disappointed. Friends, tonight we're going to talk about how to strive to be enough is breaking us. Is it breaking us trying to just live and be enough? Is society asking too much out of us? Are we leading our life, or we're trying to live out our life according to society instead of the life and our destiny and purpose that is designed for us? If this topic is something that you might find some interest to, stay tuned, friends, because we're about to unfold this and we're about to take a deep dive in it right here, right now. So thank y'all again and welcome to the show, friends. And right now, friends, any one of you brothers, man, want y'all to kick it off.
I'm gonna keep opening up.
Yeah, I was when you said striving, is society doing it? Are we doing it as our own individual one? Or are we as parents? As I was trying to get in my mind to see what level we talking about. I know for me, let's just say young me, uh, I tried to stay. I guess I was staying in my own lane. I was just trying to make it. You know what I'm saying? I was in that at that stage about my life. I was just in survival mode. You know what I'm saying? I wanted a car, shelter. You know what I'm saying? Food. I didn't see anything higher than that. Give me a good position. Give me a good job. You know what I'm saying? I didn't, like I said, I told my story. I didn't know what a lot of money was. So me striving for something, I just wanted to take care of my family. Give me a vehicle to drive, a nice car that I can clean on. It didn't have to be a brand new car, but I guess I was aiming too low. But yeah, striving for what I wanted, man. But it was real simple. When I got out of high school, I thought it was a child football and all that. And when reality hit me, man, it was like, that mean, what do I really want to do? You know what I'm saying? That was for me. I was trying to figure out. And it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do.
Well, let me ask you, have you ever felt like that you weren't enough at any point in time in your life through your stages?
Man, when I lost everything, what I'm saying, at the age of about, I was 32 years old and divorced, and that's when I really felt it. That's when I didn't have, but again, I was looking to my left and right, what I'm saying. I'm thinking what should be, but yeah, I didn't. Yeah, that's when I at that age of 32, I met my dad house. I'm on the sofa. That's like a stream, but that's when I was like, man, where do I go from here? You know what I'm saying? But it was just, I just again, I didn't have no car. I didn't have nowhere to stay. I wanted somewhere to, what I'm saying. I wanted to be stable. It wasn't no more than for me. That's what I wanted. And I meet guys that had all these aspirations and dreams and stuff like that. I admire them, but I didn't have all those. I didn't have that at that time. I did. I couldn't even lie.
Now, so because you didn't have that, did that affect your self worth? How you felt about yourself?
I think it affected me, like I said, not knowing where I was going. I was just blowing in the wind. You know what I'm saying? I look back at it now. That's why I didn't have no pinpoint where I wanted to be. So that would hurt me more than anything. Not having that, you know what I'm saying? Not having that compass, I would say, to where I wanted to go. But when I figured out where I wanted to go, when I was aware of where I wanted to go, that's when everything changed for me. But yeah, and after that, when I figured out where I wanted to go, it was pretty much easy for me. I knew what I wanted to do, and I just had to do it. It was pretty much easy. I knew the type of money I wanted to make, what I need to have. I want the house. I want. So when I started knowing what I want and start listening to people, been around people and reading, and that was easy for me. After that, I shot forward. Then I started moving. But before, I had no sense of direction or anything, man.
Good on, my brother Vincent.
I know for me, it was, there's a term that we use in the community, keeping up with the Joneses. Uh, I think at some point I had to, my upbringing with my mom wasn't able to necessarily keep up with the Joneses because she was just more so worried about trying to just put clothes on my back, trying to make sure I was well cared for and things of that nature, right? So for me, it was, I look at the title, it says how striving to be enough is breaking us. Part of that was, as a kid, you get teased for, certain clothes that you have or don't have, or if you're wearing the same thing over and over. For me, it was, my mom used to get me tough skin jeans, and those were the ones that were sold up at Sears. And those are the jeans that had like the pad in the knee, right? So while all your friends and stuff are wearing Lees and 501s and things of that nature, I'm wearing tough skin jeans, right? But at that point, at some point, it kind of starts early. The conditioning starts early for some, right? And it's like, you're trying to live up to other people's expectations. And it's like, this is where the term is it breaking us? Is breaking us from a mental standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, and from a pocketbook standpoint, because a lot of people are trying to keep up with the Joneses and they're breaking themselves, right? They're overspending. I remember at one point early in my young adult age, probably what my youngest is now, 20, 21, 22, around that age, I was trying to stunt and trying to keep up and trying to date these girls, but it's like I didn't have the money, but I'm charging my credit card, right? Trying to keep up and trying to live up to that expectation of, playing like I had it all. When in the end, it was like all those bills accumulated and I had to pay for them 5, 10, 15 years on down the road, right? Just to get my credit straight and things of that nature. So again, going back to that expectation of is enough enough, sometimes we're trying to meet other people's expectations instead of just understanding where we are, where God has placed us, and the assignment that we have.
Yeah.
Let,
Yeah.
let me
But that's,
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead on. Go ahead on. Yeah, it's about to get real good.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say I live. I'm from Louisiana, but I lived in Texas, and there was two different worlds in Texas compared to Louisiana. I think Texas, a lot of people was fronting. They used to wear a lot of stuff. Clothes was big in Texas. Cars and clothes define who you was. So in Louisiana, it wasn't about that. It was family, friends, food, getting together. But when you got in Texas, man, it's about what you was wearing, where you live, your status. It was real big here in Texas. So when I came from Louisiana and moved to Texas, man, they talked about me because I'm Louisiana, I'm a country boy. You know what I'm saying? So when I got here, man, it was huge. It was a difference. But what was so funny to me, we all lived in the same place. Like I used to say that, man, you in the same apartment. But we in the same apartments. You know what I'm saying? How you got more than I got? You know what I'm saying? But people did things, to get things. So I thought, man, they did things, strange things to get things. So when I started going to school and Kimball and you start seeing the guys with the Gucci's and the Louis, oh man, you start seeing it's a fashion show. It was a fashion show. They pulling up in the cars, they pulling up and the girls. So I experienced that in Texas. It was real bad, man. And I remember when I first got my first job and I got my check. I said, "Oh man, I'm going shopping. I'm going, I'm going to buy me some clothes." The check went about $300. You know what I'm saying? The check was gone so fast. I bought a shirt, a belt, and it was gone. You know what I'm saying? Like I think I bought a Louis the Gucci belt and a pay. And then I forgot what kind of name brand. I bought a Guess shirt, and then I remember I bought me some cowboy boots. But anyway, my money was gone. I was broke, and I was like, man, ain't no way that how they doing this. You know what I'm saying? But dudes were stealing, dudes were robbing. You know, they were slang, they were doing different things. Then that's when I realized, man, I got to stay in my own lane, man. This was too much for me. But it was a different world here in Texas compared to Louisiana.
Mhm. And I think that the three of them, we both talking about something, but we kind of want to go a little deep, and we're gonna peel this onion back, folks. Uh, this striving to be enough is it breaking us? Is is what society, the style that is before us, are we moving about, are we striving because what society is dictating we should be striving for, or are we striving by the rhythm within our spirit, soul, and mind, our ambition? Meaning that, okay, we all know, so we have to go to school, but after you go to school, it's at a certain point in time that we shift, or we shifting in our mind to move from this point in our life, our career, to something else, because that is what we prefer, or is that what we think is expected of us to do at this point in time. And then and then when we get married, are we having a child at that point in time, or are we selecting to have a child because after you get married, having a child after a year or two or whatever is something that is placed upon you to have that child? And it goes on and on. What I'm saying, that sometimes things outside of us, the society outside of us, have these preconceived expectation of us, and I wonder, are we living their expectation instead of ours? And I think that is the hot button that is breaking so many people trying to live those preconceived notions out there. Somebody speak to us.
I mean, I can go ahead and speak. I know for me, I'll give an example. I'll say my oldest, uh, you know, his grandmother, my mom went to college. I went to college for a little bit, so the expectation for me was, for him, was okay, you're going to college, right? Uh, and it's because a lot of times we're conditioned because of what came before us, and then the pattern that was laid out and the blueprint from our families. Give you a good case in point. There was a study, I think I learned this in history or economics class. The majority of people vote the way that they vote, whether it be Republican or either Democrat, because of what their parents did, right? So they follow suit. And then for the ones that break off and do something different, they're looked upon. That's where the dialogue starts back and forth. But my oldest, uh, it was kept waiting. Had a 3.8 GPA in high school. And was like, okay, very smart individual. Like, okay, he's going to college, right? There was no questions asked. He kept him hawing around, him hawing around, him hawing around. Wait to the last minute. We finally get up in to the what do you call it? The counselor's office, the advisors. We're talking, and the guy, thankfully it was a brother. He was like, man, looked at me, looked at V. He said, man, your son don't want to go to school. He said, I can tell he don't want to go to school. And I looked at V, and I'm like, V looks at me, and I was like, is this true? I was like, tell him. He's like, I just thought it was the right thing to say. So when I'm hearing that, I'm thinking, okay, what the heck? Like, I'm like, okay, and I told him, I'm just dad talk. I was like, man, you've been lying to me all this time about you've been wanting to go to school. And on the inside, I can kind of wonder him saying, no, that's what you wanted of me, right? He's like, I wanted to box. I already told you what I wanted to do, right? So with that, it's just, there's a certain expectation that we put upon, and I get it, right? Uh, he was the one that's always told me,
Talk to me.
he's the one that's basically told me success looks different for me than it does to you. Happiness looks different for me than it does to you. So it's like, sometimes And again, sometimes we got to take the wheel, right? Because we're talking about 18 years old, right? 18-year-old, as my wife would say now, you don't know your hair from a hole in your butt. Basically, it's like, sometimes we do have to make the decisions for our children to steer them along the path in their way, right? So it's like there was an expectation because his mom went to school, my mom went to school, I went to school. So it was like, thought it was automatic, right? But the one thing that I had to step back and say is, if you do go to school, let's change the game, right? Let's not go to school to get you to take orders from people. Let's go to school to get you to be an entrepreneur. Let's go to school and teach you something different, right? There's different facets of school because right now it's changing before us, right before our own very eyes, right? You can go to trade school, you can pick up a trade, you can get a certification, right? So it's like, again, a lot of people are living for other people's dreams and aspirations because they don't want to disappoint people. Yeah.
How do what? So, what are your suggestions to people who find themselves living like that in those circumstances in that situation that they're living their life through the prism of someone else's dreams and expectation? What do you tell them?
I, I could speak on mine.
Go
Like I
right
said,
ahead.
my mom went to Grambling. My brother graduated from Grambling. Like I say, I come from people that had degrees. College. When I went to college, you know, we were struggling. My mom had both of us in college. I needed money. You know what I'm saying? Money. I needed to eat. I didn't like. College was cool. I was passing, but my lifestyle, I didn't like being broke like that. I didn't feel I should have been there. So when I went to the military and I seen different things, and what it was, I seen people coming in the military that knew about the military. I didn't. I just went in because I'm trying to survive. Again, other people went in because they had a plan. They had people that went to the military. They knew about the military. Again, people that went to college, they had scholarships. You know what I'm saying? They planned this before. They didn't just say, hey, I want to go to college. Their parents worked together. They showed themselves. They went to college. They got the degree. They got the scholarship. They made a way. They worked. They enjoyed the whole experience. So when I start coming up and I'm seeing these things, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, where I fit in, why I'm not fitting in like these people, you know what I'm saying? And as I got older, you know, and got my kids, and I start, like I said, the routine, your kids go to college. My oldest daughter didn't want to go. And I feel you shouldn't make nobody do something. Then my son, he wanted to go, he didn't make it. Then he said he wanted to go to the military, he didn't make it. So when I got my kids now, and I'm talking to my son, you ask the question, what do you want to be? And I remember I asked my kids, I had my niece, I raised my niece, my son, both my boys and my daughter, they started telling me. I said, okay, I want y'all to give me a PowerPoint and I want you to explain to me each thing, what it's going to take for y'all to do that position, what y'all want to do. And tell me how much it make and all the things you had to do. So when they gave me the presentation, you can see they mind like, nah, this ain't what I want to do. Even when my sons said they want to play football, I was sitting there looking at they're not willing to do the work. I'm saying it's gonna take this and take that, you know what I'm saying, when they explained it to me. I say, so what's the next play? What do you want to do? What do you see yourself? And I say, now I say, why don't you go research? That's gonna be the play. And I said, while you're doing these things, I can't tell you what you want to do. I just want you to have the opportunity to do whatever you choose to do. That's it right there. If you don't want to go to school, you want to do something, at least know what you want to do and have an idea of what you want to do and see what it takes. I said, your daddy, he just went from this to this. You know what I'm saying? He was just trying stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't have the opportunity to say, okay, yeah, like I said, when I went to college, I picked the right degree. I picked, back in the day, computer information system. I worked at an intern at the high school. That was done right, but my lifestyle, like I was starving. I just couldn't maintain living like that in college. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to have that college life that people say, you go through college, you struggle. No, I didn't want that. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't feel that I had to do that. But anyway, but when I got my kids now, I tell them now, you know, it's having a plan, not having a plan to a point, just having a basic plan. What do you want to do? and really sit down going over what you want to do. Like I tell Makai, he's my 20-year-old. He's my 20-year-old. I like, look, it ain't no right. People can say this right, wrong. It's strategize. And I say that's the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Men lie, women lie, but the numbers don't lie. Let's put the numbers, man. Let's look at the numbers. What do you need to make? You know, when I got into this uh, stock market, man, and understanding compound interest and compound cycles, like you said, that's the third one in the world for me. That was it for me. That was it for me. I had an answer for my children till they figure out, okay, if they start putting their money back and they can figure out, till they get 10 years, they can figure out what they want to do, they can have this by the time they figure it out. They can make mistakes, but if I just get them to understand this part right here, putting back, sacrifice, till they get to that point, till they make the decision, that's what it was for me. You know what I'm saying? Just making that sacrifice and that dedication to something and seeing the numbers. You know what I'm saying? And then figuring out if I make more money, I can put more money in, the numbers. Just showing them the numbers, that was big for me. When I showed them that, that was it, man. And not putting yourself in debt. So going back to the student loan, going to college, you're gonna get a student loan. Are you paying for you? Have you worked? Have you did the work? Have you honestly went and did the scholarship that you did, or you have a GPA? Okay, what scholarship you applied for? Have you did those things? Really having a talk, sit down with the council, having that, taking the, okay, what do you want to do? Finding somebody, like my son wanted to be a pharmacist. I went, got a guy, he was a pharmacist. I took him out to dinner, paid for him and my son, sit down and talk to him and tell him what a pharmacist do. My son and I want to be IT. He meet guys, I take him over, sit down with him, tell him what it entails, tell him how much you can make. Explain to them what it takes to do these things. You know what I'm saying? So just going that extra mile, not just saying go do this and that's it. You know what I'm saying? That's the answer for me.
Yeah, like there's a old saying that those that plan to fail to plan. So I knew, like some people know early, right, what they want to do, and as parents, and as any good parent, you see you're serious, and the parent, because truth be told, our kids are, we look for the return on investment, right? So we start investing into our children. It's like, okay, take them to camps, take them to computer school, take them to coding school, take them to the boxing ring. I like what Keith said because I was a very big advocate of that. Of okay, if I know anyone that's in a profession that you want to that you want, we have to use our resources, right? We have to expose them and let them have those conversations with someone that's knowledgeable in those areas. Because my expertise only goes so far in
Right.
certain things, whether it be coaching, whether it be like finance, whether just life, and I'm very responsible in saying that's above my pay grade in a sense, or let me get you to someone that has expertise in that, because many times a lot of people fluff it and they'll turn people off and they'll misdirect them by telling them the wrong answer when they really don't have the knowledge of what they're talking about. So what I used to do also is I would take and I would get my kids and I say, okay, what professions do you want to do? Give me a list of five, right? Plan A, plan B, C, like give me five things that you like. Okay, this is what I notice of what you're good at. Because we as parents, we kind of have a close up view of what our kids are good at, right? So while they're seeing it this way, we see it from what, like you said, the effort that they put into it, or does it like excite them, right? Because there's an old saying, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. So I used to have them to make their list of five. Like he said, I used to go and say, okay, tell me what it takes. Tell me what it takes to get to that point. Is it extra schooling? Like is it extra like things that need to be looked into? Right. So you have to let them know all those facets of everything so that they do the homework and they come back to you. And I'm like, okay, give me this. And after that, I'm like, okay, what do they make? What's the pay? What's the lifespan of that job? What is it like? Things of that nature. On that, on the other side of that, I also make them make a budget and say, okay, how much do you think it costs to stay in an apartment, utilities, like life expenses, so they can get a understanding of what it is to expect when they get out on their own. Once I start, trading and doing options and start investing, my mom used to always be a little private, didn't really want to tell me about the money and this and that, right? But it's like at some point, we have to show our kids something so that they can know what to expect. Because if we're hiding it from them, we're the best ones to tell them that information, because someone out in the street can lie up down. Like, you've seen the work that we put in. So it's like, why not give them the truth? And again, you have to know when your child is ready to take the information that you're going to give them, because it may blow them away and they may think, oh, that's my money. No, I work hard for this. This is mine. This is what you can get if you put the work in, right? But we have to share our wins as well as our losses with them and be somewhat transparent so they'll know what to expect. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Can I
friends,
throw in there right
yeah,
quick?
go right ahead.
Like I said, I agree. I think our biggest thing in our community that we don't share, we don't tell our kids. You know what I'm saying? We don't tell them about our money. You know what I'm saying? We don't show them about our money, because I think a lot of us don't know about money. You know what I'm saying? And we ashamed or whatever. You know, the biggest, my mama didn't tell me nothing about money. You know what I'm saying? She always was broke. And I used to laugh, and my brother said, "But you always got some new shoes, mama." You know what I'm saying? You always got, but she was always shopping. To her, she was always, that was her word, "I don't have no money." You know what I'm saying? But that was her money, and that was it. But we never talked about money. Like my brother, I tell him the biggest thing, he helped me out understand money. I said to him now, my brother knew that we was poor. I think a lot of us don't know that we poor, and that you got to strategize if you want to have something. You know what I'm saying? So he understood that, and he made a lot of sacrifices for that. He knew, you know what I'm saying, money. And back in that time when he did it, people used to call him cheap. People used to call him, say things about him, like I said, because he was doing things frugal. You know what I'm saying? But he wasn't getting the word frugal back then. He was cheap. What woman gonna want to be? This, that. So when the biggest thing was when my mom, she retired, and she told me how much. I never knew how much my mama made, but she told me how much she get. Blew my mind. My mama worked all these years, and she just getting that. I said, wait a minute, you worked all these years, and that's what you getting? You got a master's. You went to school. You got your bachelor's. You did all kind of certifications. You got a master's, and you get what? But then she told me that. Then she said, "But let me show you what I did. I put this amount of money in the stock market, and it pays me this." I said, "Wait a minute. You worked all these years and got that, but you put that little money in here and got that." Blew me away right there. Again, that was it for me with compound interest, compound cycle. That was like you say when Warren Buffett said his third one in the world. It was it. He told the truth. But her at the time telling me what she made. Like again, my mama never talked money, but when she told me that the difference what she was getting working all them years, and to get that, I was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? So that was what I went on, and it helped me with mine. My kids, and then starting early, explaining that shit, and just then living it. I couldn't just tell my kids this. I got to live it. I got to show it. I can't say, hey, you need to buy you some rental property. My partner said that all the time. Hey man, I'm gonna tell my son buy a house every year. Did you buy a house every year? No. Well, how do you think he gonna buy a house every year? Why would you tell him something? You ain't bought number one house. You know what I'm saying? So now you got to live it. So if you're gonna be in the real estate, so I'm gonna get in real estate. If I'm gonna tell him to start a business, like you said, how can I tell him to go start a business when I haven't started a business? How am I gonna tell him to go do these things? Hey, social media is this. How they gonna do that when I ain't did it? You know what I'm saying? So I have to really believe those principles. They see, they hear, they touch. So I had to start changing and start doing those things. If I'm gonna lead the way, if I'm gonna tell them something, let me lead the way. Let me go get all the wrongs and all that and try, and then we can work together and build together and grow together. You know what I'm saying? So that was the turning point for me. You know what I'm saying? Now, like you said, do the society dictate what I am, or do I? I dictate. Like I tell when we have meetings, I'm saying we have a standard, and there's a certain standards above standards. I don't care what they doing to the left or right. It's what we doing. This is where we going. And the numbers say this is why we going, because the numbers, the time, the year. If you do this and you do this right, you do this amount, this is where you will be at. You know what I'm saying? This is the strategy right here for you. Now, you after that, you can do what you want to do. If you put this aside, that other money, you can do whatever you want to do with it. But when you
If
decide,
this sound like something,
huh?
if this sound like something you all enjoying, folks, make sure y'all don't go anywhere. We're gonna take a short break, but we will be back with part two. We're gonna dive just a little bit more deeper. Obviously, you all can tell we're three proud men, and we have taken the scars of society, and rather than allow our mouths to stay zipped up quiet, we're eager to share that knowledge with our children, and also, guess what, friends, to share it with you. So don't go anywhere, friends. We will be right back after our short break. Stay tuned.
All right, family. Now it's time to go deeper. This is the moment where we peel back the layers, challenge old thinking, and get real about what's truly holding us back and what can finally push us forward. So grab your journals, lean in, and don't just listen, engage. And if something resonates with you tonight, do us a favor, subscribe, like, and share this message with someone who needs it, because the conversation we're having is bigger than us. This is the world premiere word on the streets.
You are in a relationship with you for the rest of your life. And just like any other relationship, love is not a one and done. It's not something you can achieve and then you can just go about your life ignoring it. It's an everyday commitment. It's an everyday practice that is as much or even more so about the little things than it is about the big things. And just like loving in a relationship should not be treated as a chore, self-love should not be treated as a chore.
And so now I've realized that whatever you want from someone else, give it to yourself first. If you want compliments from someone else, give them to yourself first. If you want validation from someone else, give it to yourself first. Because no matter how many of them they give you, if you never gave it to yourself in the first place, it will never be enough.
Keep the comments flowing as we dive into part two of how striving to be enough is breaking us. The conversation is just getting deeper. Stay with us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Keith Fletcher was on the floor, and he was going in deep. Fletcher was going in deep. Fletcher, won't you continue with part two or what you were saying?
Well, like I say, it's trying to be more. I just think that if you follow the society, follow the norm, you going like you say, the American dream. You know what I'm saying? Who decide what's the American dream? You know what I'm saying? When you hear other people saying that, you start saying, okay, and you go look at it. American dream for who? You know what I'm saying? So I just think what I'm saying, once you come up with a plan and strategy, because like I said, I know a couple that work at Walmart. They put their money, they invested their money, they got land, and they just worked at Walmart for 20 some years. They didn't know, they didn't work in no manager position. They worked in a regular position. They put their money in the right places. They lived a modest life. They bought a home. They paid the home off. They went, bought modest cars. They lived a modest life, but what they was looking about the future. They was planning. They're from Africa. They built a compound. They bought some more land. They built this, but they built strategy with their money. So what I'm saying? You can dictate your own life, but it takes a planning and it takes strategizing it. And once you understand it, once you get that, nothing can stop you. That's the whole thing about it. So when you try to follow somebody else's way, I think you get lost. But if you
That
come up
sounds
with,
good.
yeah,
That sounds good. It sounds like both of you gentlemen saying that if we don't focus so much on what the world is telling us, and it sounds like what I'm hearing, that if we get a little knowledge, get some knowledge about money, credit, um, maybe we could not find ourselves being so burnt out at the end of the day. Am I getting that right, friends?
Yeah, I think also what you have to understand too is a lot of stuff now is geared toward so much media driven stuff. There's
Yes.
something called synthetic media. right? I don't know if you heard that term where it's like,
Yeah.
this stuff is like fake that's
Yeah.
out there. And it's like, do you realize out in China, they don't even have TikTok, but
Hmm.
it comes from China, right? So it's like, I feel like a
Is
lot of
that so?
times there's like a overflooding of
That's
information
something.
and distraction and synthetic media to take our attention off studies, to take our like the algorithms that are being built, like the longer you stay or you go on here, like a lot of this stuff is like I have to watch what I intake
Yeah.
because I don't want to be influenced by certain things that I'm seeing. What you digest with the eyes comes back out, like what you spend enough time around, you start becoming, right? What you
Yes.
compromise to get, you have to
Yeah.
compromise to keep. So I'm real big on not wanting to compromise on things and principles that I have because I do live in that like ruffle the edges of other people because it's just like I'm not for everybody, right? Because I'm not, like he said, there's a certain standard, right, that comes within the household, that comes within the friendships, that comes within the families and even businesses, right? There's certain things that I just won't participate in because again, when you've seen enough of how things shouldn't have or what you didn't agree with, then it's like, okay, I got to make a sound mind decision on what not to do, right? But again,
Right.
for me, it's I have to really watch what I listen to, what I read, just what I intake.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Fletcher introduced a link to me, and I like to just kind of talk about it a little bit, friends. And I found it was so fascinated and interested. The gentleman talked about being in monk mode, and in monk mode, friends, you know, to prevent ourselves from being distracted, sometimes you got to shift over into monk mode. Plus, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I ran across him, man, and he was talking about, what I'm saying, being, at the end of the day, this world we go through, we just need one great idea. You know what I'm saying? You need ideas to get you through time, but we are distracted so much, like Vince said, TikTok, YouTube, algorithm, all this stuff is distracted. Work,
Yes.
marriages, relationships, kids, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
All these
All
things,
that.
all this stuff is distraction. And sometimes we focus on all these things, focusing on everybody else, and we tend to not to focus on ourselves and our dreams. You know what I'm saying? And we're drifting.
And it causes us to burn out sometime when we get distracted like that.
Yeah, the cause of the drift away from it. And it's not a fast, it's slowly you know what I'm saying, taken away from you and taking you out your position, taking before you know it, you so far left, you know what I'm saying, now it's you far gone and you think it's too late. So what the guy was saying about
And you know what? You don't even see yourself drifting either.
you don't see yourself, you
Funny
don't
thing
see
about
yourself.
it.
Yeah. And
So
like
go
and
ahead
then
on, man.
some is TikTok, like you saying, something that even the people you're around, you start getting around certain people, like saying, just not watching the algorithm, the people that you're around can also be that part. And they don't mean nothing by doing it, you know what I'm saying? But they can go ahead and take you away from those things. So sometimes he was saying, like, you got to get to yourself, you know what I'm saying? You got to, even your relationships, you got to really pick and choose how, how vital that is. And it's not all the time, but you can get in that mode and you got to separate yourself and get yourself back in alignment with your dreams, back in alignment with your goals, back in alignment with yourself. That's basically what he was talking about. Yeah.
It sort of remind me when we all agreed previously, and I think it bears repeating right now. And I love for you guys to kind of put some meat on this bone, what I'm getting ready to say, is that you have to really to keep yourself out of that loop, that continuing loop out there, social media loop, TV loop, even sometimes friends loop. To keep yourself out of that loop, sometimes friends, you have to come apart before you come apart, and you have to demand your time. Non-negotiable, non-negotiable, to get back to you and give back to you. That's important, friends. It's important for your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health. It's important to you. Brothers, help me on that conversation, please.
You good,
No,
man?
you hit the nail on the head. Like is right, which is one of the reasons why I said I basically for the sanity of me, for the sanctity of me, I have to disengage. Uh, and it's easy for me to disengage because I'm an introvert, right? So for me, staying at home, getting in isolation, getting recharged, and things of that nature, like there's some pluses to that. But there comes some times too where I do need to get out. But I have to basically take care of me because if I don't take care of me, then who else is going to take care of me? A bad me is going to be bad for my family, right? And I was in that stage of life to where I wasn't always, I'm not where I am now. And I knew certain relationships I had, whether they, be friendships, especially when I was on the dating scene, even formerly married, like an unhealthy me does not benefit those around me because what do we do? Those around us basically are recipients of
Man,
hurt,
that's good. Good.
by
Good. Good.
our pains.
Healthy me. Woo.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good talk.
like they're recipients, right? And again, I've said this before on this show. It took my ex-wife to tell me that you're a hypocrite because she saw the way that I was nice and kind to the parents of athletes that I coached, right? And I was good to them, but it's like, for some reason, I felt like I could come home and just get in the leftover events that was spent, tired, overextended, not knowing when to say no to certain things. And it's just like, we have to, like I said, go in that monk into the cave, hibernate, come back to ourselves and get healthy. Because again, I'll say it, an unhealthy me is not good for those around me. But a healthy me is great for those around me because they're the recipients of the happiness of the good
Yeah.
healthy me.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on, Fletcher.
Yeah, and people think, I tell them that it's up to you to make yourself happy. It's not, you can't get no happiness from somebody else. You got to make yourself happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you, yeah. I don't know whether it came in a society that, your husband or your wife, happy wife, supposed to make somebody happy, happy wife, happy life. It's on each individual to have happiness in their life. Now, we can work together make each other happy. But you know what I'm saying. But I'm just saying when with me, you know what I'm saying. I was that person. I'm not an introvert. I had to learn how to be alone. I had to really learn how to be to myself. And that when I realized that it was hard. It was hard for me to be by myself. You know what I'm saying, and get to myself. Man, I had to, it was a battle. And when I had to learn, I started getting to know me personally, get to know me. And like you said, we talk about taking that mask off and really finding out who I am. You know what I'm saying? And that part right there for me was a hard part, a hard deep dive into my childhood, deep dive into a lot of stuff to find the original me. You know what I'm saying? Who I was. Because in your lifetime, you meet so many people, they start telling you who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying, coming home and you're not that molded. You went through some stuff and you come home and somebody can easily say that's who you are. You know what I'm saying? And then you take that on sometimes. You're like, well, but no, that ain't who I am. You know what I'm saying? So I had to really find out who I was and what direction I wanted to go in. And when I found that through the Most High, and I remember when I went to my wife and I told her, I said, we need to sit down and I want to see what is your, dreams, aspirations, goals, where you want to go. And she didn't look at me, and I said, well, I'm gonna give you time to think about it. You know what I'm saying? But this is where we at. And, I remember she came and said, well, I really don't have none. I got my kids and all that. And I said, sure. So that's when I said, well, I'm gonna tell you mine. And I said, and I started writing it down, telling her, this is what I want, this is what I'm going, and this is who I am. And I said, it's gonna take time for me to get there. You know what I'm saying? And I don't. You know what I'm saying? So find out who I was, man, and being humble to receive from other people. That was for me right there. So I started receiving and getting it. I didn't like what I liked to hear. I didn't like what I was hearing. And I didn't like what they were saying. But then I started hearing it. But when I started getting alone in my own thoughts and started seeing That's when I revealed me. But being alone, man, and being in that monk mode is well deserved. You need that, like you say, you need to dump that. You need to have that time to find out who you are. That's must be done, man. It's a must.
Two things I echo on that is what Keith said. He's absolutely right on that about needing to be alone because there are so many people that are codependent and they don't
Yeah,
know how to be alone and they get from one relationship to the next to the next to the next to the next because they have that codependency, right?
yeah,
They can't function without being. If you don't
Yeah,
know who you are by yourself,
yeah.
yeah.
then that's a recipe for disaster for some.
That's a recipe
And
for getting burned out.
Yeah.
hey, that's what I had in my life, disasters all the time because I didn't want to be alone. I would go to the next girl, to the next person, to the next. I
Mhm.
would have to be people around me, man. And like I said, yeah,
But here's the thing too, hey brothers. Here's the next junction. Friends, I told y'all you don't want to miss part two. I told you this. Listen, this is part two. Oh, relationship, man. This is a thick. This is where the gravy get really thick, friends. Because a lot of time, brothers, the burnt out comes in relationship. Either the man trying to make this woman happy, or vice versa. This lady trying to make this man happy, and meanwhile, you burning yourself out because as the saying goes, man, you got to first fill your cup. You got to be happy yourself instead of trying to make someone else happy. But in reality, in real life, in this real life, this goes on 24/7 all over the world. A trying to make B happy, B trying to make A happy. And I know I've been guilty about that once or twice myself in my life.
I'm gonna
I'll
say
say
that.
this real quick to kind of finish up on what Keith was saying too. I kind of laughed at him because I used to be that main person that says, like, there's elements to it's not up for me to make my wife happy, right? Like me and her had a little discussion about that. Like I'm like, no, you have to produce your own happiness, right?
Yeah,
Like happiness comes from within. Scale it back, I have to understand that what I do and don't do is a result of her happiness too. So I really had to be fine in tune with that. And it's like there's certain things that I do that make her a little bit happier, that put her in a great mood, or impact or affect her, right? Again,
Say that again, man. You broke up. That was too important. Say it again so we can understand what you said.
I had to understand that there are some things that impact her on things that I do and say, right? So that causes her to be in a good mood or a bad mood or happy or sad, right? So even though happiness comes from within, there are elements of things that I do that impacts her happiness.
yeah.
That's a
So
good point
let
you
me let me
made.
let me say this one thing. I'm gonna tell you one thing that Vince said. I don't know if anybody got it. Few shows when he first came. Him and his wife went to counseling before y'all got married. Is that correct, Vince?
Yep, premarital counseling.
You hear that? Right there was happiness. All bottled up. That's happiness right there. You see what I'm saying? No, for real.
Yeah, no,
Bro,
for real, brother,
that's
for
for real.
real.
That is happiness
That is
right there. Figuring out
right,
what it is, what button, what counseling. They both
right.
made a decision and saw that, hey, we need this before we go into this. Love ain't enough. Money ain't enough. None
That's
of that is
right,
enough.
right.
This
That is
right
so
here,
true.
way more important than any. That's happiness. That's true happiness. Getting to understand. So,
Right there, man. That's a deep statement you just made because how many of us, how few of us do that?
yeah,
Especially in the black community, like that
especially
wasn't
in the black
that
community.
wasn't that wasn't talked about in the 70s and
No,
80s and
no,
90s,
no.
and if it was a last resort, or either someone was crazy not
Yeah,
to save
Man,
the
you know,
marriage, or either to be.
we're really just coming up on a lot of stuff. The
Yep.
things that we're doing now, the way that we're communicating with our kids now, that's sort of new in our community,
man.
friends.
We it's 2025. Look what y'all just said. Counseling, talking to our kids, doing this thing, and we wonder why we so far behind. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about that, man. But that pre-marriage counseling will save so many. Like you said, once, and I know you were speaking about you got to do things to make her happy. You're right, but in that counseling and those things, it revealed those things too. You see what I'm saying? It revealed I need to do more of this than that. You know what I'm saying? So now you got a guidebook. You're not going in that blind. You know what I'm saying? You have a guidebook that may go for now. Her voice has been heard. Your voice has been heard. See, that's what happiness is right there. You know what I'm saying? We can work through it, and then if you don't, you can always say, "Hey." Either one, you're going to say, we might need to go back to the counselor. Let's go.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
If
saying?
not just before,
Yeah.
because I know couples right now.
Oh, yes.
I know couples right now that they make it a continuation of
Yes.
we still got to go once a month or either once a quarter, right? Because a lot of people do it in the beginning or at the end when it's too late, but there's
Oh
no
no, you got
middle.
to keep doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You got to
But
revisit.
check it out,
Yeah.
brothers. Check it out. Now we in this dysfunctional relationship, and then we already got the zipped up anger, and now we go to a job, and the people we're going on the job to, they coming from dysfunctional situation themselves. No wonder most of the job is a hell of a place to go to. All these dishappy people. That
But let me show you what happens
that's
at the job. But let me show you what happens at that job. Hurt people hurt people. Two hurt people get together at that job. You throw your whole marriage. See, that's what happens. You'll go to that job and save it. Both of y'all save it.
we got all these folks complaining and grumbling on the job.
But that bring on relate, and then you have a relationship with people at the job instead of more than at your home. So,
Tell me
like I
about it.
said,
You see, this is what I'm saying. Now, we're gonna be ending this show, but this
we can do
is
a
a
part
whole
two,
nother,
man. We can do another part next week.
this is a whole nother jar that needs some really serious talking about, because we have relationship issues, and then we take this lack of understanding. We don't know what to do with these emotions, and we take it to the job. Now, I'm upset. I'm working with 15 other people, no telling what's going on in their life, in their home life, or what have you. And we all have to, work in this environment for the next 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours, sometime 12. And we get to do that 5 days a week. And we leave that place and we go back to this dysfunctional relationship. And you do that for what, till you're 65? And then then everybody be going to your home going and talk about, you know, the life you lived, and that life you live wasn't really that great of a life, which is why we're on this platform today to try to let people know that doesn't have to be your life story. It doesn't have to unwind that way, friends. It doesn't really have to be that way. That's why Vincent, that's why Fletcher is integrating. That's why we're talking about get you some help. Get some help. My goodness. Don't accept the fact that you just got to keep living like that until you're 65. My goodness. That's hell right there. That is hell. You have to be unhappy with this person until you what? Come on, y'all. Go ahead on, somebody.
Nah, that's about it, man. I think we've kind of like we definitely gonna have to have a part two to this
Yeah.
because there's a
Yeah.
lot of meat. There's a lot of meat on this. There's a lot of meat on the bone, right? And it's
Yeah,
just
that's a lot of meat. That's a lot of meat on the bone.
and
That's a lot
and
of meat on the
and
bone.
I don't want to throw it away.
Well said. Well said. What say you, Fletcher?
Yeah, let's reconvene next week, man. Get this. I think we come back at it like you said, dysfunctional relationship at home and at work. I done had both of them, and like I said, it can be fixed. It can be fixed, but we need to, like I said, we need to spend some time on it, chew on that
Right.
bone, but it can be addressed. We got tools to help you do it too. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank Selena for being in the chat room with us tonight, keeping things alive.
Appreciate you being present.
That's right. And thank all of you all for tuning in again. We have a hard night tonight. Got some obligations. It's 8:30, but we want to thank all of you all for tuning in and being with us on the world premiere Word on the Streets. Last word from our panel, the amazing Vincent Craig, the amazing Keith Fletcher.
The Cowboys. Hey, Vince, Selena's a big time Cowboy fan too, so I know y'all gonna be disappointed tonight. So that's my last word right there.
Like I said, we can make that challenge, and we can do 100 push-ups right in front of the audience to see who's going to win or lose. Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely, when we come back Thursday, we'll know who won that game. The game tonight, right?
They
Right
on
there in the
right now.
back. Right there in the backdrop. That's who
They
wins.
on right now. That's what he's looking at. That's what he's
Right
looking at.
there. Right there. Right there.
Hey, friends. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure y'all set the clock. Be back with us on next Thursday. We're going to find out will Fletcher have to do 100 push-ups, walk the treadmill? We're going to find out, friends. Tune in for part 2 of this saga. Good night, everybody.
Good
Good night,
night.
everybody. Y'all be good.
And that wraps up another powerful episode of world premiere Word on the Streets. We're live every Thursday evening at 7:30 Central Standard Time, and we'd love to have you join us again. So take a moment to subscribe, tap that like button, and become part of this growing community. Until next time, guard your thoughts, speak only what you truly want to experience, and stay laser focused on what matters. Your words shape your world, and your mindset fuels your mission. We'll see you again, same time, same place, right here on World Premiere Word on the Streets, where truth meets transformation. Stay strong, stay grounded, and as always, stay true.